UFC 322 has come and gone. There is a new UFC welterweight champion. His name is Islam Makhachev. He is now just the 11th fighter in UFC history to win a belt in 2 different weight classes. Very notable. He is now just the 2nd fighter in UFC history to win 16 fights in a row. He ties a record that was set by Anderson Silva many moons ago, a record that I think a lot of people thought no one would ever match. And he won his 16th fight in a row, which is remarkable. He was pretty damn dominant at 155 pounds. He broke the record for most consecutive title defenses at 155 pounds, and now he moves up to 170 pounds. And in his first fight at 170 pounds, he not only beats Jack Della Maddalena, he thoroughly dominates Jack Della Maddalena. It was never really close. It was 50-45. It was a very easy 50-45 to score. I don't think anyone gave Jack Della, even his biggest fan, I don't think would give him a single round in that fight. And what was most notable to me, there were a few things that stood out. Number one, he didn't just beat Jack Della. He didn't just dominate Jack Della. He broke him. Go back and look at Jack. Jack, leading into the fight, it was the closest that we had ever seen, in my opinion, to like the reincarnation of Nick Diaz. That face-off on Thursday got me so hyped for this fight. The way he was standing, the way he was flexing. Jack Della is that guy. I don't think less of Jack Della on this Monday as a result of what happened on Saturday. He is that good. He is that tough. He had been on an incredible run. He was undefeated in the UFC. He had just beaten Bilal Muhammad, won that title fair and square back in May, got the opportunity after Shavkat got injured. We know the whole story. He's that guy. And the guy that we saw at the beginning of that fight, the guy who made the walk, the guy who was standing there as he was being introduced by Bruce Buffer, was not the same guy that we saw end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th, end of the 5th. Even his corner, who was celebrated after the win over Bilal back in May in Montreal, Coach Vickers, the whole team, even they were saying to him, in so many words, you're broken. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop looking down. And his body language, his face, told the whole picture. Islam Makhachev broke him mentally. And that's not to knock JDM. That is to give Islam all his flowers, all the credit in the world. He is unbelievable. He is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. It's scary to think that he's even better and more impressive at 170 than he is at 155. He completely shut out the welterweight champion in his first fight at 170 pounds. He looked very comfortable with the 15 extra pounds, and it was probably more by the time the fight happened. And what stood out to me the most is that it felt like a massive weight had been lifted off of Islam's shoulders. And I know what you're probably thinking. How is that possible? How is it possible that a guy who had won 15 fights in a row going into this fight, who was considered by many the best fighter in the world, who was considered by many the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, who was considered by many maybe the best lightweight in the history of the sport, and we know how great that division is and how many great fighters it has produced, how could it be possible that a weight was lifted off his shoulders on Saturday? That's what it appeared to me as. When I looked at him, he looked like he was breathing a massive sigh of relief. And my theory is that for as long as he was fighting at 155 pounds, he was in the shadows of his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, who he adores, who he loves, who he respects, whose father was his coach and mentor. You know the whole story. And now it feels like he finally feels like he is able to accomplish something outside of his shadows. I am not suggesting for a minute, for a second. I know people get weird when you start pitting the two of them against each other. I'm not doing that. But Khabib is the lightweight king. Khabib willingly gave up that title. I don't think he gave up that title because he got rich, because he got famous. I think he gave up that title because his father tragically passed away and he made a promise to his mother. He strikes me as that kind of person. He is that kind of person. And so once he did that, he passed the baton and said, now it's your time. You're going to be the guy. And Islam took that baton, ran with it, and I think even before Saturday, already surpassed his legacy and resume. I think now there's no conversation to be had. Khabib never won in two separate weight classes, never defended the title, 4 times, didn't have the run, didn't have the winning streak, all that. The only thing Khabib has over Islam is that he never lost. Islam has the one loss in the UFC to Adriano Martins. If you know, you know. Davi Ramos, a lot of people didn't get that one. It's for the OGs. It's for the real, true hardcores. But that's the one thing Khabib has that he doesn't have. I felt on Saturday, the look on Islam's face, the demeanor, the body language suggested that he now has his own legacy. He now has his own thing outside of Khabib's world. And I don't think he was striving for that, but I think he wanted that. I think he wanted that moment. I've never seen Islam. I don't think we've ever seen him smile like this. Look at this guy. Completely different human being. Look at the relief. Look at the happiness. And it was cool to see. In the back, the interviews, the interactions, very cool to see. It was cool to see him humanized in a way because he comes across sometimes as stoic, as unflappable, as a lot of these Russian fighters do come across this way. They're impossible to break mentally. They're impossible to even bend, let alone break. He came across on Saturday in the aftermath as a guy who had just realized a dream, as a guy who, was a kid, couldn't believe his life, couldn't believe how far he's come. And that, to me, made him more likable than ever. People will now forever debate, and maybe he wins 10 more in a row and there's no debate, but as of right now, people will, debate, is he better than Khabib? Who wins in their prime if they fight each other? I was talking to someone who's very close to them, and their suggestion was like, there's that big brother syndrome when they go against each other. Khabib has the edge. But if there was none of that, if there's just two separate guys with the same skill sets in their prime, that's a barbershop debate that we'll never get the answer to. It's fun to talk about. If you want my vote, I think the accomplishments, the resume, the fact that he won 2 belts in 2 different weight classes, the winning streak, and there are no signs of slowing down, makes him above Khabib. But there's no denying. Best fighter in the world, pound for pound, number 1. And there is a jockeying of position. Ilya fights again. Who knows what happens? If they fight each other, who knows what happens? But as of right now, November 17, 2025, it's that damn impressive. And yes, I do believe, as we are offering up a lot of, platitudes, compliments, I do believe the kids would call, they'd call it a little bit of, aura farming? It definitely felt like they were trying to recreate the Conor post-205 moment. I mean, it was very reminiscent. 10 MSG cards later. The 10th annual UFC at MSG in November. This was, who could deny? And he is worthy of the moment, but it felt like they were trying to say, like, this is our house now. This is our promotion now. We've done it. That's the way it came across to me. No knock, but it felt like they were, go up there, take the second belt. And what is it about these 2 belts? You can't strip the guy and then all of a sudden have them parade at the press conference and the face-offs and the weigh-ins and this stuff post-fight with the 2 belts. What is it? Is it now like just, it's just a trophy you can hold on to forever? I don't get it. Why strip them? I know why, because they want to have title fights on pay-per-views, and they just kind of hope that no one is a stickler for these things like I am. But it is a little bit annoying. He should still, for all intents and purposes, be the 155-pound champion. And Dana said afterwards, we don't know what he's going to do. Why in the world would you go back down to 55? There's no reason. You look that good at 170. There's a litany of new guys for you to fight at 170. I don't think there's any guy right now who's like a surefire, like, this guy's going to be your kryptonite. And of course, there's the Ilya fight, which I feel like at this point, we're actually further away than ever from getting, because I don't see Ilya moving up to 170 and I don't see him moving down to 155. Maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like Ilya has his things going on at 155, and there's fights against Paddy and Justin Gaethje and whomever, BSD looking very good right now. And now there's a new crop of guys at 170 for him to fight. And holy smokes, are there a new crop of guys for Islam Makhachev to fight. Michael Morales looking incredible on Saturday, getting the big win over Sean Brady. And my heart breaks for Sean Brady. It truly does. Sean Brady should have been fighting for the belt next. If it wasn't for Islam moving up, Sean Brady is probably fighting for the belt next. But they put him in there against an absolute killer, a superstar in the making, A guy who just looks like a he looks like a tank out there. He looks like a 205er going up against a 155er in there. Incredible win for the pride of Ecuador and perhaps the first champion to ever come out of that country. Perhaps, down the line, Michael Morales. Prior to that, you have Carlos Praches becoming the first man to stop Leon Edwards via strikes. Leon looked good in the first round. Submission attempts, gets his back. Yes, Carlos seemed a little bit unbothered by the whole situation. I mean, that picture is phenomenal. It's really a tremendous shot. And then he comes back with that left hand and just absolutely blasts Leon Edwards. And now Leon has some soul searching. How quickly things change. For a guy who not that long ago was the welterweight champion of the world, now you have a guy who not that long ago was losing to Ian Gary. And so now all of the pressure goes to Ian Gary this weekend against Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad, Ian Gary this weekend in Qatar just got a whole lot bigger because if Praches and Morales would have won via ho-hum decision, it would have been like a little like tap it in for Ian Gary. Now he's got to do something spectacular to let everyone know that he deserves the next crack. And oh, by the way, there's Shafkat out there who I hear is ready to go. January, February, March, he is ready to go. Do they go to him? Or is there a Kamaru Usman fight out there and it seems like the entire Islam squad is pushing for that fight? Are they pushing for it like John Jones was pushing for the Stipe fight because they want the legacy win? Are they pushing for it because they're buddies? Are they pushing for it because they're all under the same management? I don't know. But it does seem like that's what they're pushing for. And count me among those who say I have zero interest in that fight, and it would be an absolute travesty if the likes of Michael Morales and Carlos Praches and Ian Gary are doing their thing, and Kamaru Usman, who has one win in the past 4 fights, and the one win is against Joaquin Buckley back in June, who wasn't even a top 5 fighter. If he was on the fringe, top 6, top 5, and that's what gets you a title shot. That's a joke. 170 is arguably the most interesting weight class in the UFC right now, and that's the guy who's getting the first crack at Islam Makhachev at 155 pounds. That's absolutely insane. 170, not 155 pounds. Old habits die hard. But as you can see, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot to discuss. And let me just say one last thing before we get to the guys and their opinions on what transpired on Saturday. I understand that a lot of people would say, yeah, the main event and the co-main, by the way, shout out to Valentina Shevchenko, thoroughly dominating Zhang Weili. Even, dare I say, it was even more dominant than what Islam did, and that's how impressive it was. And I did not see this coming. I thought this would be a very competitive fight. But after a couple of years ago where, the world was thinking, maybe that's it for Valentina. She's been doing this for a long time. Grasso catches her. Then there's the draw, as controversial as it was. Maybe she's just not that good anymore. She's just too old. Too many miles on the tires. Absolutely not. As Dana White said, weight classes for a reason. Happy they made the fight. Have no real problem with them making the fight. It was the most interesting fight at that moment for the two of them. But Zhang should 1,000% go down and challenge Mackenzie Dern and Valentina stay at 125. And maybe we get that fight against Kayla if a few things happen. Or maybe we get that fight against Amanda one last time before they both set off into the sunset. The point is, it was an amazing card leading up to the co-main and main, and I understand both fights went the distance. You got to see magic. You got to see dominance, greatness, and I know not everyone cares about that. I know you just want to see knockouts and submissions and crazy moments. I do not think it is fair to Islam, just like I don't think it was fair to Khamzat to call him a boring fighter. Allow me to remind you that back in January, Islam Makhachev beat Renato Moicano via first-round Darce choke. Allow me to remind you that in June of last year, Islam Makhachev beat Dustin Poirier in one of the best fights of the year, in my opinion, via fifth-round Darce choke. Allow me to remind you that in October of 2023, he knocked out Alex Volkanovski. And just how good is Alex because of the win and how great it was back in February of 2023. Prior to that, he beat Charles Oliveira via arm triangle choke. Prior to that, he beat Bobby King Green via ground and pound. Prior to that, he Kimura'd Dan Hooker. Prior to that, he rear naked choked Thiago Moises. Prior to that, he arm triangle choked Drew Dober. And prior to that, he beat via unanimous decision. You know who he beat? You know who he beat? You know who took him into deep waters? You know who actually tested him? Yes, of course, it was the great Davi Ramos. But you have to go all the way back to September of 2019 for that fight. So other than this past weekend. The only other time in the past 6 years, 5.5 years, that he went the distance was the fight of the year against Volkanovski, which he won by that much. How is that a boring fighter? I'm sorry. How is that a boring fighter? Finish after finish after finish after finish. How is that a boring fighter? It's not. But, maybe Ronda was right. Maybe everyone is, what have you done for me lately in this sport? I get it. It's 1 a.m. The fight is going late. You're getting tired, and it feels like rinse and repeat. But the knock should not be on Islam. It's got to be on the guy who can't figure it out. And just like DDP couldn't figure it out, Jack couldn't figure it out. And now he has to go back to the drawing board, and he's got to figure it out. And Jack's not done, and we'll see him, and he'll be in the mix at 170, just like DDP will be in the mix at 185. But these guys are that damn good. They're that damn talented. They're that damn dominant. And it's on to their opponents to figure them out. But to call him a boring fighter when I just listed, all these fights have been finished via stoppage over the past 5.5 years is simply not fair. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.